Jits and Giggles podcast is partnering with Jiu-Jitsu Outpost for their New Orleans training camp. This is an all-inclusive event happening May 14th through 17th. It includes hotel, transportation, the coolest excursions, multiple dinners, and the best training in New Orleans. For my ladies, this event is highly women-friendly. There will be several women at each training session. We literally know how hard it is to find that. I'll be there, and right now, if you sign up using the code GIGGLES, they are offering you 10% off. Visit jujitsuoutpost.com or Jiu-Jitsu Outpost on Instagram for more information. See you there. It's Alysa Kos bringing you Jits and Giggles podcast.
Awesome.
Josh Wyland,
Yes.
aka J-Dog. Welcome to Jits and Giggles.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? We've been going back and forth for a while, so thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yes. Sorry about that. I wasn't a very good person to communicate with the past few months, so I'm sorry about that.
All good. We're all busy. I was gonna just give a brief background for anybody listening. So, you are known for being a very high level competitor. You have an affiliation with B Team. You're a brown belt under Nikki Ryan, I believe, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. But before all that, you have a very heavy wrestling background, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I wanted to start there. So I know you wrestled in college, but you wrestled in high school. How old were you when you started wrestling?
I was probably about 9. I started wrestling in about 4th grade.
Okay. So
Yep.
did you know, like, from the very beginning that you wanted to, like, get a scholarship, go to college? Was that the goal from pretty much day one?
From day one, no. I hated wrestling for about 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did not like it. I had no clue I was actually going to do it. I was like, one day randomly, my dad, he was like, I got home from school and he was like, "Hey, like, get your shoes on. We're gonna go do something." And I'm just like, "Okay, all right, I'll go, I
Yeah.
guess."
Yeah.
And long story short, he takes me to wrestling practice, and I get there, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, Dad, what am I doing here?" And I didn't even want to get on the mat. I was scared. I did not want to do it. And
Yeah.
one of the coaches walked up and just threw me a pair of wrestling shoes my first day. And he was like, "Hey, you want to jump in these live goes?" And I was like, "No, but my dad's here." So I was like, "Of course I do." And I
Yeah.
went out there. I was terrified. And for the first 3 years, I really did not like it.
Now, for the first 3 years, were you a natural? Were you big for your age, small? Where were you?
Yeah, I was a natural. I was from the first day. I was all the coaches were like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be he's a wrestler at
Wow.
college." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm not lying at all. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was a natural, but I still didn't like it. Like my first tournament
Yeah.
ever, wrestling was pretty popular where the area I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Virginia. So my first tournament was actually like pretty big bracket, and I made it to the finals. Actually, I won like 4 or 5 matches, lost in the finals, and all my
Wow.
coaches and my dad like, "Oh, you're gonna be so good." And I'm just like, I don't know, like, but I was a natural from the start for sure. I was beating kids I was not supposed to be
Oh,
beating.
wow.
Yeah,
So
but
since you were a natural, that surprises me because you didn't like it. So what was the part you didn't like about it?
um, it was because I was a natural. There's a lot of pressure put on me from
Mm,
day one.
okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
from day one, everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna win this. You're gonna beat this guy," and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't want all that pressure on me. So I think that was
Yeah.
why I didn't like it. And because I was a natural, I would always be put in tournaments that like I had no business being at. Kind of, my dad would make me wrestle in high school brackets when I was in middle school.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
So like I would have my fair share of losing because I was always wrestling up where I should have been. So that
Yeah.
also made it kind of not likable for in the beginning at least.
No, that makes sense. It's like less of a hobby, and like all of a sudden you're like this competitive
Yeah,
athlete. It's
super
like
serious. Day
a little
one, I'm just like,
kid.
I'm just trying to play video games. Like, I'm not trying to do all this
Right.
right now.
Do you feel like you were, or even are you, like a naturally competitive person or not really?
I am a naturally competitive person. At the time when I first started wrestling, I was currently playing baseball in
Hmm.
elementary school. I was a really good baseball player as well. I like was on some travel teams, stuff like that. But I was competitive. But my dad was very hard on me in wrestling, like from day one,
Hmm.
which in the beginning was I didn't like it at all, and I think it affected my potential a lot.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I was very thankful for it. So
Of course. Now, does your dad have a wrestling background?
a little bit. He wrestled a little bit in high school. nowhere near my level, but he
Okay.
wrestled.
Okay. So he was putting all the pressure on you and now you surpassed him. Now you're showing him
Yes,
thing.
yes, of course.
Very cool. So you wrestled through high school and then I saw that you went to Brown, is that correct?
I didn't go to Brown. I did get a letter to wrestle at Brown, but
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
yeah, my grades were not high enough to wrestle at Brown. I went and did a little bit of time wrestling at Virginia Tech actually,
Oh, nice.
in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, so I was recruited by a lot of D1 colleges wrestling
Mm-hmm.
teams come out of high school because technically on like the wrestling website, I was a 5-star recruit, which was like the
Okay.
highest recruit you could be, and I was ranked in the country coming out of high school, stuff like that. So I had a
Nice.
lot of letters to choose from,
Yeah.
um, but there's a lot of them I couldn't go to because I did not have good grades in high school. So
Yeah. But I mean, that's a testament to your athletic background. I mean, these schools wanted
yes,
you. So you were obviously very, very good. So at what point did you switch over from only focusing on wrestling to jujitsu? What happened?
it was probably my lack of reaching my potential and performing in college wrestling. I think
Mm-hmm.
is what really decided that. Because when I got to Virginia Tech, I wasn't supposed to go to Virginia Tech. I was actually committed to wrestle at Old Dominion out in Virginia
Mm-hmm.
Beach. Um, but I switched last second, like my senior year. I decommitted from ODU and went Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
But my grades weren't crazy. I didn't have horrible grades in high school, but my high school was really, really hard. We had a whole different grading scale than most public schools.
Mm-hmm.
So like an A at our school is like way higher than what an A would be at public schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you got below a 94, it was a B. In
Oh,
most schools,
yeah,
it
that
was
is
an A.
weird.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it kind of screwed me a little bit. But anyway,
Yeah.
so when I committed to Virginia Tech, I actually had to go to a year of a community college that's attached to Virginia Tech,
Mm-hmm.
where athletes who are going to compete for Virginia Tech would go and do their classes there. So they'd be
Okay.
like semi-enrolled into Virginia Tech, but they do classes at a different. They represent the school academically at a different school, but
Okay.
representing the school athletically for Virginia Tech.
That makes sense.
It's called a gray shirt year, which is what I did my first year. So I did that my first year, and then I got really good grades. I started getting good grades because it mattered at that point. So I
Yeah.
really wanted to wrestle. So I started getting good grades, and then I enrolled in Virginia Tech. So at that point, I'd already been training with the team, lifting with the team, and competing at a D1 level for a year when
Mm-hmm.
I enrolled academically into Virginia Tech. And then so I trained for that whole summer, rolled back into another season at Virginia Tech. I couldn't start. I was behind
Mm-hmm.
an absolute stud. One of my buddies, his name's Mitch Moore. He's an animal. I couldn't beat him for the starting spot, but
Mm-hmm.
continued to train with the team, continued to do my mat time and stuff. Then my grades started to slip again in college because I had no clue what I wanted to do. I did not care for
Yeah.
anything I was learning in college. I was like taking African studies classes, and I was like, I don't care for this. And so my grades started to slip. Everything kind of started to fumble a little bit. So I got put on academic probation. And when that happened, I had to start really trying to focus on my grades while trying to
Right.
go through wrestling. I couldn't start. So when I got put on academic probation, I actually planned to transfer to a different school to wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to transfer to Ferrum. And during that time of the transfer process, and I was looking at other schools to go wrestle at, I still had to finish out a semester at Virginia Tech. And so
Right.
during that time, I was like, um, I'm gonna try out some jujitsu. You know what I mean? Like, because I stopped wrestling because I was obviously going to transfer to a different wrestling team within like a few months.
Right.
Um, and then I started doing jiu-jitsu just to kind of stay in shape and kind of, I still had that competitive mindset, and when I heard all these wrestlers like Nicky Rod and stuff dominating, PJ Barch dominating in jiu-jitsu, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could do something. I've been wrestling
Yeah.
for like 15 years at this point. Maybe it's time for something new. So I
Right.
actually ended up training at a really good gym out in Blacksburg that was really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to fall in love with jiu-jitsu within a short period of time. And I kind of
Wow.
called my family and I made a decision. I was like, hey, I think I'm done wrestling. I'm gonna do this now. So that's what I did.
Wow. That's
Yep.
really cool. So when you started doing jujitsu, I mean, we usually hear that those of you with a wrestling background, it's very helpful. You come in the room, you slam everybody. But what
Yep.
would you say was the issue of having a wrestling background? Were there any bad habits that you had to unlearn for jujitsu?
Of course. I mean, I fortunately and unfortunately, my first year of training was nothing but the gi.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
yeah, I trained the gi all up into my blue belt.
Oh, cool.
So most people don't know that. Everyone thinks I'm
Yeah.
just like a no-gi
Yeah, I'd
fiend.
assume.
Yeah. But I did some time and I actually competed a little bit in the gi. Um, and the gi specifically was a massive problem because everyone's like, wrestlers are very explosive, they're very dynamic, they're very fast, they're
Mhm.
very athletic, and the gi takes away a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I was having a little bit of problem with the gi of people who were nowhere near as good as me as an athlete and jiu-jitsu to be able to slow me down.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't like this. So I started looking for no-gi gyms in the area, and I switched from the gym I was currently training at to a no-gi gym in the area that
Okay.
had some very high-level competitors at that gym. So when I switched there, my first practice there, I got put in a heel hook and my foot broken.
Oh, no way. That is
My first
awful.
my first practice, I went in there, got put in a heel hook, had no clue what was going on, got my foot snapped, and the guy that broke my foot was the reason why I was going to that gym. I had like scouted him out, and I wanted to go to a gym where there were good guys.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to be in a room where people were beating me, and
Mhm.
so I was like, man, I really want to go train with this guy. He looks really good. I got rolled with him, he breaks my foot, and I'm just like, wow, I was right. He's pretty
Great.
good. and
Did
so
you not know, like, you were so new, it sounds like you didn't know the danger you were in to even tap, or it just happened so
no,
quick?
yeah, it was 1000% my fault. I had
Yeah.
plenty of time to tap.
Okay.
I wasn't sure what was going on.
Right.
The gi gym, they obviously don't train leg locks.
Right.
So that guy ended up becoming one of my best friends in the gym. I still talk to him every day to this day.
That's cool.
Became one of my main training partners. His name's Miles Williams out in Team Manning, Blacksburg. Shout out Miles.
Okay.
He's a beast. He's competed on UFC Fight Pass. All these things. Really
I'm
good.
sure you felt horrible.
Yeah. But to answer your question, that was a pretty easy kind of thing to point out of like, okay, the leg locks are something that I'm as coming from a wrestler from a wrestling
Yeah.
background, like leg locks is something I need to learn for sure.
Right.
That was an
Yeah.
easy thing that I kind of realized real quick of like, okay, if I want to compete in modern jiu-jitsu, I need to start getting familiar with leg locks.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of wrestlers hate leg locks for that reason, right? It's something that's a little
Mhm.
bit of a learning curve. So once you started learning more about them, were you like, forget this, I don't want to focus on it, or did you become the opposite, almost like addicted and you wanted to master leg locks?
I wouldn't say I became addicted to leg locks like some wrestlers do. I
Yeah.
know there's some people like Keith Kokorian. He's got
Yes.
a wrestling background, but obviously
Hmm.
he's really good at leg locks now.
Hmm.
There's some other guys who have some. I think John Blank. He has a wrestling
Yep.
background and he's really good at leg locks. So there's
Really good.
definitely So there's definitely wrestlers who come into the scene and they're like, "Hey, f wrestling. I'm just going to start becoming a leg
Yeah.
locker." You know what I mean? So
Right.
I wouldn't say I was quite that person,
Hmm.
but I think my leg locks have gotten to a very high level now. Ever since
Hmm.
moving out to B team and training out here our simple man now, that's when my leg
Hmm.
locks started to become high level. But I never made it my like go to style. I still always kept like a stay on top guard passing style, like a
Yes.
PJ Barch or a Dorian, someone like that.
Yeah, no, your wrestling definitely comes in handy, and you obviously have competed quite a lot. We see you in ADCC, which is very wrestling heavy, so
Yes,
I,
yeah,
I assume that helps your game quite a bit. So you started doing more no-gi, which I love because I also prefer no-gi.
yes.
I hate people holding me down. My friends, my like OG black belt girlfriends are like, they're all gi people, and I'm like, I hate it. But at what point were you like, okay, I think that I can make this a career?
Yeah. So when I was training in Blacksburg, Virginia, when at the same time I was training nogi at this new gym, I was finishing out my academic career,
Hmm.
if you want to call it that, at Virginia Tech. And
Yeah.
it's a funny story. I like the whole last 3 months of college, I didn't even go to class. I just like I pretty much just completely dropped out and quit college, like while I was still enrolled.
Right.
And I remember going to one of my classes. I hated college, but I remember going to one of my classes, and it took me like 40 minutes to find a parking spot that I was paying $400 a year for, and I'm just like, this is stupid, you know. Like,
Yeah.
and I finally get to class like a little late, and the door's locked, And I go to open the door and the door is locked. And right then and there, I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I was like,
Made the decision for you.
that's all it took. Yeah. I was like, I turned around. I never went back to class for the last like 4 months of college. Um,
Which, like, side note is so ridiculous. Like, you're literally paying to be there.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I can get into a whole story of like
Yeah.
the background of that. But anyways, I was like, man, I'm not doing this. This is a waste of my time. Like, I'm not doing classes. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm working at Chipotle, and I'm just like, man. After a month of that, I was like, this doesn't feel much better, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I dropped out of college, started working at Chipotle. While
Mm-hmm.
I'm working at Chipotle, I'm training jujitsu.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then back to your question,
Uh-huh.
I was like, when I started, I was keeping track of the B team, or at the time they were the Didn't Hurt Death Squad.
Mm-hmm.
I was keeping track of them in Puerto Rico, because my whole life, since I've started training wrestling in fourth grade, I've trained with nothing but the best guys. Pretty much my
Right.
whole way. My club team in wrestling was number one club team in my state. I went to a top 10 wrestling D1 program. My coaches there were Olympians, world champions. So I've trained with nothing but the best my whole
Yeah.
life. So like I'm keeping an eye on these guys out in Puerto Rico. I'm like, hey, I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
go train with them. And then when I hear they're moving back to the mainland, you could say to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like, huh, maybe I can move out there, you know? So I
Yeah.
saved up money for about a year working at Chipotle while living with roommates out in Blacksburg,
Wow.
Virginia. Yep, training. And then I made the announcement to my buddies, like, hey, I think I'm gonna go move to Austin, Texas once these guys are settled in there.
Yeah.
And I told my girlfriend at the time, I was like, hey, I'm moving to Austin, Texas. You can come with me, or you can stay here, because she still had a month left of college. Because we both were in Virginia Tech together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we both, I chose to actually stay, let her finish out college, and then she came with me to Austin,
Oh,
Texas.
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's my wife now. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Happy ending.
it all worked out. Yeah, but
That's beautiful. Yeah.
that's when I decided, like, okay, I'm uplifting my whole life. I'm spending a lot of my savings to go move out
Mm-hmm.
to Austin, Texas to train. That's when I kind of, that day is when I told myself, like, I'm going to try and compete at the highest level I can possible.
Mm-hmm.
I want to own my own business one day, make my own gym. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I decided all that about 4 years ago, I'd say.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chipotle.
Yes. Yeah. They carried me through those times.
They need to like sponsor you or something. Jeez.
Something.
So yeah, it's been, you said 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 years. And now you kind of just mentioned it. You opened a gym, is that right?
Yes. I opened a Jiu Jitsu Hub out in Georgetown, Texas about
How
7 months ago.
7 months ago. And is that just you and your wife who is running it?
Yeah. So right now, as far as like running it, it's my wife and I.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I do a lot of just everything.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job. I mean, I am doing everything with that gym. That's why, I mean, I'm kind of taking a back seat to competing right now, because I'm just so,
Yeah.
I want to. That's a topic we can get into farther into the podcast. But
Yeah.
I want to do it right, and I don't think a lot of gyms are doing it right. So I'm really focused on that right
Right. And I looked it up. You're in the gym's in Georgetown, Texas, is that right?
now. Yep.
How saturated is that area with jujitsu gyms? Are you a lot, not much?
I wouldn't say it's like crazy saturated, but there's obviously some big. I mean, you're in Austin. That's one decision I'm kind of looking back on. That's like, I look back. I'm like, did I make the right decision? Because when opening up a gym, I was looking between here, obviously, because I have a big network system here in Austin,
Yeah.
or Tampa, Florida, or Richmond, Virginia, where I'm from. Those are
Mm-hmm.
my three big locations, and obviously, I chose to stay here for
Yeah.
numerous amount of reasons. But then
Mm-hmm.
now, I have Giancarlo Bodoni open up a gym in Georgetown,
Mm-hmm.
and Dan's out there. So a lot of big names, but being a big name does not make your gym a good place to train at. So
Right.
not saying their gym's not a good place to train at. I'm just saying, like, in general in the sport, there's plenty of big names that I think their
Mm-hmm.
gym's horrible. So
Yeah, no,
um,
you that's a good point. And also, 90% of people doing jujitsu are not high level competitors.
exactly. They
They
just
don't
want to come
care.
in there. Yeah, they just want to stay in shape, be part of the community, and just learn something cool. So,
Yeah, like I know my gym, like we've had some of the biggest names come in for seminars and even guest coach, and our kids our gym's mostly families. These people have no
yeah,
like actually like J Rod was in town and they're like, who's that? Like
yeah, exactly,
because
exactly. Yeah,
they're working 9 to 5 and they want their kids to get like an hour of exercise. Like they're not into it the way that like some of us
Yeah,
are into it,
exactly,
so
exactly.
that doesn't always make or break it. You got to kind of find your niche, I
One
imagine.
1000%.
How far is Austin from your gym?
Um, Probably about 40 minutes.
Okay, so
But I live like in between, so because I still
oh,
train at Simple Man.
that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah,
Yeah, I still train at Simple Man every week. So I wanted to be somewhere in the middle where it's like 20 minutes to my gym, 20 minutes to Austin. So I'm in a pretty good spot right now.
gotcha. Are you guys? Does your gym have like a kids program yet?
Yeah, yeah, we have our kids program. It's growing rapidly. We just had a bunch of kids go compete at Naga. I was actually coaching all this weekend. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, we had well, our kids did awesome. We had quite a few kids win it. They won some belts. For their
yeah,
first time competing, they killed it. So I
that's
love
awesome.
coaching. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
it's awesome.
You you said 7 months you've been open, so that's a pretty good amount of time. Can you tell me
Hmm.
like any surprises, anything that has
Oh,
been like very difficult that you didn't foresee?
yeah, we're gonna have to save that for a whole other podcast because that could be about 4 hours long.
All right, tell me high level.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the biggest thing I've come across when owning a business. It's like it really is like 10% jujitsu and
Mm-hmm.
90% just learning how to run a business. Like
Yes.
it's like running a business is it doesn't matter what the niche is, it's all the same stuff, you know? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
trying to be the owner, but while also trying to be the face of the business, while also trying to be the brand, but also trying to be the instructor that's on the mat. It's really hard. I think
Yeah.
for a business to operate very smoothly, I think the owner needs to be separated from um, I guess the people or the community. I
Yeah.
think the person who needs to have the most authority in the business can't be the person you're making jokes with every day. You know what I
That
mean?
is a good point. Yeah. There's got to be
But
boundaries.
it's got to be boundaries. But I think the hardest part I've found have definitely been just dealing with the people. Um, Not saying it's a bad thing. It's just a
Yeah.
hard thing. Like
Yeah.
my current members right now, they're all amazing. But I've had plenty of people come in and out of the door who just think they know it all. They've never done a sport in their life, but yet they're questioning me, and I've competed in the world level, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like I deal with that all the time, and that part really shocked me of like how many people take zero accountability for their own
Yes.
life, you know? Um, and that's not the people who do become members are the good ones. You know, there are the ones that are in there willing to learn and willing to do that. But there's people who will come in and every day or every week and they'll try and tell me or other instructors that they need to learn this way or they don't think this works and they're
Mm-hmm.
100 pounds overweight and it's like
Yeah.
it
Like, wait a
sounds
minute.
like it sounds like you just need to get in shape before you start worrying about what moves work.
Yes. Yeah.
So dealing with that and just dealing with the amount of money everything costs too. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
the second you make more money is the second you start spending more money on your business. So it's a lot of stuff that I've really learned, but I'm extremely grateful for the position that I'm in.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
finally making good money. You know, with all the knowledge and stuff I know. So
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, dealing with the general public in general is a headache and is very
It,
difficult and it's also
yeah.
rewarding, but you're dealing with lots of different personalities and like you said, people who think they know more than you even though they're paying you because they believe you know more. It makes no sense. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a lot. And you brought up a good point. I have a business background and I've, met so many people through the podcast, through jujitsu, and it is interesting. Some people just think I'm good at jujitsu, I'll open a gym. And it's like, you can't just be good at jujitsu. You
no,
have like first and foremost, you need to be good at running a business. And if you're not, you need to figure out how to be good at it. Being a
yeah,
good or even decent athlete will not allow you to have a successful business.
that's not even half the problem. Like
Yeah, people
you
miss the
have to
mark.
be, yeah, you have to be a very good leader. You have to be a very good people person. You have to be. This is the most surprising part that, which is why sometimes a lot of those higher level athletes ultimately um, their gyms aren't as big as they could be. Is a lot of these higher level athletes they're very they're selfish
Mhm.
for a good reason. You have to
Yeah,
be. You
you
have
do.
to be to get to that level. You have to be selfish.
Hmm.
But to go from being selfish, which is what you have to be, to then going to like when you own a business, you think you're the owner, but really you're the servant. Like you are the
Yeah.
servant. You're the guy who's like you're serving all these people. It's almost like you work for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think for some of
You
these
do.
guys who sit on a throne, when they realize that, it's a hard pill to swallow. It's hard to
Yes.
have some guy come in who, you know, some people who are at that high level, superstar level, they'll kind of see this person as a nobody, but yet they almost have more authority than you do in your own business.
Of
And I
course. Yeah.
and I think that's a hard pill for some of these higher level guys to swallow. Not all of them, obviously, but some of
Yeah.
them, I think, um, that's the hardest part to struggle with for a high level guy coming in to open up a business.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like they're used to having like this admiration and this status. And
Hmm.
it's like you still I'm sure have those things when you open up a business, but to your point, it's like these are now your customers and
Yeah.
they come first and you have to set aside your ego
Yes.
and
Yeah.
everything else in order to satisfy them because if they're not satisfied, you don't have a business.
Exactly. You put it very well there. As far as like they come first. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't care if you have a competition coming up. I don't care if you have autographs to go sign. Like
Right.
if you want to if you want to be a good business and one of your customers texts you at 10 o'clock at night, hey, I have a problem with this. You have to
Yeah.
solve it right there in the spot. You know?
Yeah. Okay. So asking you a question, treading a little lightly here, but obviously we're seeing a lot of stuff going on in the jujitsu world with, owners acting inappropriately or just making poor decisions.
Hmm.
You are like I would say you're the younger generation. You're definitely a younger gym.
Yeah.
Anything you've learned from watching some of these crashes and burns that's allowed you to make better decisions or put certain things in place for your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely something I've thought about since opening up my own business, and
Mm-hmm.
it brings me back around to where I do think that jiu-jitsu as a whole is a very unprofessional um, industry, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
compared to other things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying compared to other organizations,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is pretty unprofessional. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing I picked up on when opening up my own business is like the jiu-jitsu community has this mindset where if a gym or an athlete is trying to be professional, they're almost looked at as like uncool. It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
hey man, why are you asking me to sign a waiver? Like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like there's this mindset in the community where being professional and doing things right is blame, you
Yeah.
know? And because of that, I think it's dragging the whole sport and community down. And so, just a small example of what I'm trying to explain to put it
Yeah.
in more of an example for people to understand is like, a professional business. If, for example, in my gym, if I have one of my buddies coming in to train, it's like you could be one of my friends, but you're still signing the waiver. Like
Yeah. You have to protect yourself.
it's just a professional thing to do. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's the professional thing to do. And that's just an example of like I think jiu-jitsu needs to be that way with every single layer. Like
Hmm.
and I think the problem with jiu-jitsu is there's a lot of people obviously that you have your good gyms, you have your good athletes, you have your good role models, but for the most part there's a lot of people in jiu-jitsu who they get a platform and they get a voice and they get the ability to influence people and they're kind of degenerates. You know what I mean? It's like they'll go from being, you know, some some bum on the couch to overnight being able to tell people what they should eat for dinner, and
Yes.
and people listen to them.
Hmm.
And so I think because of that mindset in jiu-jitsu, where the second you know blast steroids and get some tattoos and break someone's arm, all of a sudden you have a PhD and knowing what you should eat.
Right.
And so that's the part I think that starts to kind of blend on jiu-jitsu with being unprofessional is
Yeah.
we give people a platform who they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like at the end of the day, I could give advice. I could give people advice from my experience. But at the end of the day, if you choose not to listen to me about how to cut weight, that's
Hmm.
a pretty good decision because you know what I mean. It's like I don't. I'm not a doctor and knowing how to cut
Right.
weight. I've probably cut weight in a way that wasn't the most professional way to do it.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's a big problem, and that's what back to your question. That's what I've kind of learned is like I don't care what the community says or what they think. I'm going to run my gym very professionally, and if that makes me uncool or lame, then so be it. But I won't be the gym that's going under 10 years from now because of it.
Yeah, I think that's
So
great to hear. And you kind of answered the question I'm about to ask you a little bit, but how would you describe your gym's culture? Obviously, it sounds like more professional. Can you give me a little more insight culturally how your gym's being ran?
yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll start off with saying the cliche answer that every gym says. It's like, oh, we have good vibes. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, that should be expected.
Hmm.
Why wouldn't your gym have good vibes?
Yeah.
It's like,
Of course, yeah, that'd be
um,
bad.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, I'll start off with saying that anyway. It's like we have a very. I like to. I kind of preach the opposite a little bit of other gyms where people who join our gym, I tell them very early on, like, hey, listen, don't feel like if you're banged up or you're having an off week at work, don't feel like you can't come to practice because if you don't roll live, someone's going to like be on your ass about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we really encourage a lot of our members, like, just come hang out, just come sit in the mat. You don't even have to practice. You can. We have a beautiful
Yeah.
athletes lounge in our facility. Watch some matches, watch a
Yeah.
movie. We don't care. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of gyms who push this culture of like if someone's injured or they're banged up and they come to practice and they don't roll live, it's like, oh, you're being soft. Like
Hmm.
at least roll one round,
Right.
like blah blah blah. And I think that's a bad culture to have, especially for hobbyists. Like
Yes.
back to what I was saying about these high level athletes who are influencers. You'll hear these people who are blasting three different forms of steroids and gear, telling people you should be training 3 times a day, you should be blah blah blah. And it's like for the natural dad at 30 years old, you should not be doing that. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So that's one example at our gym is we do not push this crazy like, hey, I better see you in here every day. And if
Hmm.
you are in here, you better be rolling live. Like you're not allowed to skip rounds. Like,
Right.
listen, this experience will be what you make it. We're gonna have live every day. We're gonna have
Yeah.
high level instruction. But you're a paying member. You pick and choose how you want to use this facility. So
Correct.
that's one example, I'd say.
Yeah. That sounds like the way to go about it. How about traditionalism? Are you the gym that you expect to be called professor? You're not asking black belts to roll.
Yeah, no, we don't do that. Everyone just calls me J Dog at the gym. Um, and I didn't even ask him to call me that. I think it's most people don't know my real name.
Yeah.
There's been
I,
several times people have come to B team and like kind of walked by me, blah blah blah, and then they'd hear like Nikki Rod or something like that say, "Hey J Dog," and then later the person's like, "Oh, you're J Dog," um, or they'll say, or they'll hear like Josh, and they'll be like, "Oh,
who's that?
I thought, yeah, I didn't even know your real name. Like I thought it was like everyone's called you J Dog."
Yeah.
So yeah, at our gym, no one called me professor or anything like that. You're allowed to roll with anybody. There is no like, don't ask the belt not to roll.
Hmm.
Um, I encourage high level belts to roll with our white belts because it's probably the most safest round they could possibly have is with the higher
Yes.
belt.
That's true.
So yeah, no,
Yeah.
we don't do stuff like that.
Cool. And you brought up a good point. Your nickname, J Dog, you're correct. Like it was very hard to find your real name a couple months ago when I first
Yeah.
reached out. How did your nickname come about?
It's funny. I originally got J Dog way back when I was wrestling in middle school. My coach started calling me J Dog.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of what he called me my whole wrestling career.
Yeah.
And then when I got into jiu-jitsu, no one knew me as J Dog. Everyone called me Josh.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't bring up my nickname J Dog ever.
Hmm.
And then it wasn't until I got to B team where once I started wrestling with all the guys like Ethan and Dorian, like I would just scrap, like no matter who it was. Like I would have,
Yeah.
very competitive rounds with these guys, and we're rolling off the mat into the concrete, and we're still rolling, and, and I, there was this aura around me, where people just like, oh, like you're a dog,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then Josh, and then finally it was Ethan Krillistan one day. He was like J Dog, and then ever since he said it, it just stuck, and everyone's been calling me in the whole community now. So
I told Ethan, I was like, he's like the underdog of B Team or of Simple Man. I feel like he always has like the slick little comments. He doesn't get enough
oh,
credit.
1000%. Ethan, he's my favorite training partner at Simple Man or B
Hmm.
Team.
Hmm.
He's very wise with the tongue, very charming person. So he's awesome to have around and just to always train with.
Yeah, no, for sure. And okay, speaking of J Dog, so you had a podcast with
Yes.
J Rod, right?
Yep.
J
Yep.
Dog podcast, is that what it was?
It was no. It was called the Doghouse.
The Dog House. Thank you. That's what it was. I knew it had dog in it. Okay, and
Yep.
it was very popular. And I see
It
people to this
was. It
day
was.
sometimes especially under Jacob's Instagram, I see people asking all the time, when are you bringing it back? So, any
Yep.
plans? What's going on? Do you think you guys will bring it back eventually?
It's been talked about a lot. Well, yeah, I was debating it when I started my gym. I was just super busy. Obviously, we had to take a step back from all the stuff that went down
Hmm.
closer to a year ago.
I don't
So
know
I
what you're
think that
talking about. I'm just kidding.
yeah, well, yeah. What are we talking about? And so yeah, we could talk about whatever you want. I'm the type of guy where like you won't offend me with any questions. So throw as many questions as you want out. By the way,
Yeah.
um, but yeah. So we took a step back. I think it was the right decision, and at the same time, I'm opening up my gym. And then once the gym opened up, I got really busy. So it was kind of
Hmm.
hard to jump back into it. And obviously, the backlash of everything was still always just floating around social
Yeah.
media. Um, and so, but it wasn't until recently when, yeah, I started to see all these comments on Jay's Instagram about we wanted the podcast back, want the
Hmm.
podcast back. And then I've had quite a few people come visit my gym from out of state and out of country. Whenever they're in town, I've had people from France stop by and wanted to come try out the gym.
Wow.
Yeah, a little while ago, Jay would pop in and roll in open mat
Hmm.
on Sundays, and people would come in and want pictures with him and stuff like that. And I started to have people come in who I had no clue who they were, and they'd ask for a picture with me or Jay, and they'd be like, "Hey,
Hmm.
I was a big fan of the Doghouse
That's really
podcast.
cool.
I wanted to come meet y'all. When y'all going to do it again?" And that happened twice within like the
Wow.
same month. And I was like, man, I guess people really did enjoy
Enjoyed
that.
it
Yeah,
for
yeah, they really
sure.
enjoyed it. So ever since that started happening, I was like, okay, I could see us starting to back up sometime in the
Yeah.
future.
I
So
think
I'm
that'll
not.
be a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when I
I
had
think that
Jacob
first
on,
episode would be huge.
oh, it would be prepared because let me tell you, like it was so fun talking to him, but
Oh, I'm
craziest
sure.
people came out of the woodworks for that
I'm
one.
sure. Why the hell would you let him on your
I'm
screen? Yeah, I'm sure you heard
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
you have no idea. But you know what? Like I'm from the same area Jacob and Nikki are from. So
Oh,
we
cool.
have a lot of mutual friends. Like not that they know we have mutual friends, but like I'm friends with like Amanda Levy and then like Jay Regalbuta is one of my coaches. So they're always around. They don't know
Oh, okay,
me,
cool.
but they're always at Web, so I see them. And so I'm not going to say I'm biased, but obviously I've gotten to know them. I've gotten to know from my friends that they are decent people. So it is
Yeah, yeah,
hard when things happen to not have some sort of biasy just because I knew them before everything.
yeah. That's
I
just
knew of
natural.
them before everything happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and so, when you have friends saying like, no, they are, they're a good person, you should talk to them. Of course, I'm going to give it an opportunity. And not to get completely off topic, but as a podcaster, all I can do is ask the questions. I'm
I was gonna
not
say that's your
an
job.
investigator.
That's your job. You know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, you don't have to like the person to be on your podcast. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's your job. So
Right. And truthfully, I will never know if I'm getting the truth or not. All I can do is hope I'm getting the truth. I'm not the
exactly.
police or an attorney. So asking the questions, you tell me what you want to answer, and I'm gonna post it. That's about
Ex-
it.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
people get upset because they're like, why didn't you like hold him to the fire? I'm like, I am not a judge.
Yeah. I'm not
I,
the judge. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know what to tell you. But
Yeah.
I guess getting into it a little bit, obviously you and Jacob did develop a very close friendship. You guys, I don't want to use the word chemistry in a weird way, but you guys do. You have great chemistry with the podcast. How did you guys become such good friends?
I mean, we've been accused of being gay a few times. You know what I mean? So that's
All right, I'm glad you were picking up what I was putting down.
yeah, I'll thicken it up. So I mean, it probably started. Obviously, when I moved to Austin and started training at B Team, I
Yeah.
became friends with all the guys pretty quickly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those guys at high level, they don't really accept you into like you could say their clique, I guess is what
Right.
most people would call it,
Hmm.
unless they see you as another high level guy and your mindset's the same when it comes to competing. So pretty
Yeah.
early on, I started to um, do stuff with the guys, and when they'd go out and eat, they'd invite me and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
became friends with a lot of them quickly. But with Jay specifically, it it happened quicker than the other guys because we had a bit more stuff in common as far as
Yeah.
like video games and what really made us click was our wrestling background. You know, we both understand the struggle of wrestling and cutting weight. So that
Yeah.
was out of all the guys, he understood that the most.
Mhm.
But it definitely started with one day at practice. At the time, he was running a small business called Jitsbits, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
The little croc things, right?
yeah, yeah. And I went to go put on my Croc, and I saw a purple belt Jitsbits in my Croc, and I was like, so what the hell is this? Is this guy trying to propose to me? Like, what's going on? And he's like, "Oh, that's just for you. Like, it's you can
Aw.
just have it." And I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." And then we would drill and train, and obviously him and I would have like at the time he was a lot lighter, so him and I would
Yeah.
have competitive rounds, and we're scrapping. And at the time, I just started training. Like that was when I got serious into training. So I was training like 5 days a week every week,
Right.
but I did not have enough no-gi gear to uphold the amount of training I did. So like there's some practices I've come in with a pair of swimming trunks and like a t-shirt on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you
And
gotta
good, you
do.
gotta do it. And I think Jay recognized that at the time. He just started getting sponsored with Level Black. So one day at practice, he brought in randomly like all of his old gear that he wore before being sponsored with Level Black and gave it to me.
Wow.
Yeah, gave me a bunch of gear, and I was like, "Wow, dude! Like, thank you. I really appreciate this."
Yeah,
And
super nice.
yeah, so he was super. He was just super nice to me when I first got there, and then we started playing video games together, and we were laughing a lot over video games. And then he kind of got me a small sponsor with Level Black after my
Mhm.
performance at a Ego, and I took out the IBJJF World Champion there, and had a really good performance. And Level Black started sending me a bunch of gear. I have way more gear that I could deal with.
Yeah,
Now
I
I'm the
bet.
guy giving it away.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of how our friendship started. And then we did a seminar together. And
Mhm.
so it really just started because he was just super nice to me. He's never done me wrong in any small way possible at all. So
Yeah. No, that makes
yeah.
sense. So, when all this controversy kind of came to light, how did that kind of look for your friendship? Were you 100% sure you knew the story? Was it something you had to talk to him about? Like, how did you handle it? And did it like put any, I don't know, pressure on your friendship? I can imagine if I were friends with a person that was getting all this flack, for lack of a better word, I would want to know if I should be around them or not, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely had those thoughts in my head, and I was honest with Jay about it as far as like, I was at the same time too, I was super busy with opening up my gym. So like I didn't have too much time to get like super bought into it,
Right,
because at the end
right.
of the day I had very important stuff on my plate.
Yeah.
But when it did go down, I was I think just as shocked as everyone else was. I was like,
Hmm.
my first thought was like, I don't believe it. That was my
Hmm.
first thought. But I'm the type of guy where I'm very open minded. Like I'm never the type of guy to just completely close off everything.
Yeah.
Because like I mean,
You never know.
yeah, I was gonna say you never know. I mean, this is a horrible example. I'm not trying to compare the two at all, by the way. But
Okay, I'm
like,
ready.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who didn't think Ted Bundy was a serial killer. You know what I mean? So it's like so because of that alone, it wasn't
Yeah.
completely like, oh no way, that would never happen. Like
Right.
completely ignore it. You know what I mean? Like so I kind of asked my own questions and did a little bit of my own digging. And at the end of the day, it came down to like I'm a type of person where I do not have a lot of friends at all. Or at least like close friends. I do not have a lot of close friends, and that's for a very, very specific reason.
Hmm.
Like for me to consider someone a really close friend of mine, I've done a lot of analyzing, you could say, about their character and who they are. I
Yes.
probably only have three best friends in my whole life, and I've met a lot of people.
Hmm.
So because of that, once someone becomes my best friend, it's really hard for me to just throw them to the curb,
Yeah.
no matter what happened. You know what I mean? Like I have a very, very, very close friend that lives another. We wrestle together, and he lives on the other
Hmm.
side of the country. And we haven't really met or hung out in like 6, 7 years,
Yeah.
6, 7.
I
Um,
like it.
but like he did call me
Shout out to the
tomorrow.
10-year-olds listening.
Yeah, shout out to my kids class. They have that hooked in my head now. But
They do it in my class too, yeah.
yeah. But like a part of me, I really hate to say it, but it's like my friend who lives in Tampa, Florida. You know, if he called me tomorrow and was like, "Hey man, I just murdered two people," I'd be like, how can I help you? Like, what do you like? How are you feeling, dude? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
call the police on you or anything. You know,
Right,
you're
right,
my best friend. You know,
right.
so that was I didn't want to be a fake friend. I didn't want to be the people on social media who are like, "Oh, I love you, Jay. You're my idol." And then the second this
Mhm.
happens, everyone's like, "F you, dude." You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but obviously, I had to tread lightly because I had my
Mhm.
own brand and my own gym opening up, so I had to
Yes.
tread very, very lightly. But at the end of the day, you can't please everybody. I had so many people DMing me during that time that like if I stayed Jay's friend, I was the bad guy. Everyone's like, "Wow, you're horrible," blah blah blah. And then I had people message me being like, "If you don't stay Jay's friend, you were a fake friend. Like
Right,
you're
you
you're
can't
a
win.
fake person. I can't win." So at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Could
Yeah.
care less what anyone thinks. So that's how
Yeah.
kind of how I dealt with it.
No, that is really hard, but obviously you had to hear him out friend to friend, and you had to make a decision, it's
Yeah,
all you could
yeah. I
do.
had I had to hear him out. I had to hear the story, and kind of like you with running your own podcast. Do I know if I'm hearing the truth? I don't know.
Right.
It's just up to me to decide whether I believe the person or not. And that's what it comes down to. Is like um, could I be being told the complete truth? I don't know, but
Mhm.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But it's like
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Hook them up to a lie detector test? Like, there's
Ex-
only
exactly. So like
so
I
much you can
don't.
do.
It's only so much you can do. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you can't put so much weight on it. You know.
Yeah, and a lot of the complaints I received is that I was like, I guess, watering it down, or like, I think one of the terms was like I gave him a soft pitch interview because I didn't hold him to the fire. But and I guess I'm saying this for my own rebuttal is just like it's hard to put someone to the fire when you don't have any 100% proof of the facts, right? Like if I was a journalist and I already knew he was lying before I interviewed him and I had proof, then yeah,
Exactly.
and
Way
that's
different
then
interview.
yeah, and that's how journalists works. They have the answers first and they ask you and they catch you in a lie and then they tell you. But to me, it's
Yep.
like I can only put so much pressure because I don't know if you're lying. You might not, but what am I gonna do? It's
Exactly. And that's
hard.
it's very hard, and that's the best way. I think you dealt with it very professionally and how you should have. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the same way I dealt with it as a friend. Is like, yeah, at the end of the day, no one's hooked up to a lie detector. No one knows the
Yeah.
truth. This we're not in court, being hooked up to anything. There's no one's seeing a bunch of proof being thrown around. So at the end
Yep.
of the day, it's like, as a logical person, I have to sit here and be like, I don't know the truth. I don't know what's not the
Hmm.
truth. What I do know is this person has treated me very, very well my whole life.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the only evidence I do have is this person has been nothing but a great best friend to me my whole life. So
Right.
that's at the end of
All
the
you
day,
can
your
do.
decision has to be based off what you know.
Yeah. And not to mention, I saw him on a Monday at the gym. He agreed to come over on a Wednesday. I thought, honest to God, I was like, there's no way he's talking about this. Like, I'm grateful that he's willing to come on and we'll talk about his career, but he's never going to talk about this, truthfully.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and right before we turned the cameras on, he's like, I don't care, ask me anything. And
Ask me anything.
I was
Yeah,
like, oh my God. So
yeah.
also it was like a little bit of a shock. Also, I guarantee we're going to have a journalist headline say, J Dog compares J Rod to Ted Bundy, just so you
No,
know.
oh, of
That is
course.
coming. Just
Of
so you
course.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
coming.
yeah. Yeah, they'll
um,
they'll they'll try and throw me under their bus as well.
100%. Also, I don't know if this was a rumor or if Jacob and I talked about this. Was there any talk about him opening the gym with you at one point? Was that happening or
Uh,
no?
no.
Never was a
Um,
thing. Okay.
no, it was never no. That was never brought up as like
Option.
like he's gonna be part of the gym or the brand.
Okay. Okay. But he sometimes, I assume, bops around since he's back in Austin.
Yeah, I think he trains full time. He doesn't train at my gym. He actually
Yeah.
trains at a gym down in Austin.
Mm.
But for a brief moment during that time where he was kind of like trying to find places to train. I think
Yeah.
during that time he was really just he wasn't in the gym as much as people in my gym as much as people think he would have been, because he was
Hmm.
honestly doing seminars around the country like every weekend,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh,
Like,
I know. Yeah.
yeah, he was like gone every weekend. So he honestly, like, for a moment there, like, we didn't see each other for like months, dude. Like, he like when that whole thing went down, like, he just disappeared and just went and did seminars. Like,
Yeah.
when he could no longer train at B team, he just traveled and did seminars. So there was a while when I didn't see him at all, and then every once in a while, when you get back in town, he'd come to an open mat, and then he'd be gone again for like 4 weeks. So
Right.
that's kind of how it went, to be honest.
Also, before I forget, going off of this, you being an owner and, hiring, I'm sure as you grow, you're going to hire more and more coaches, regardless of what we know to be true or not true. We see scandals in jiu-jitsu all the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
How do you handle preventing that at your gym? Is it like just having a closer eyes on the coaches? What are you going to do, in your opinion, to prevent this from happening?
I think the best thing you can do professionally is have background checks.
Yeah. Hmm.
Background checks obviously aren't going to, they're not going to do as much as people think that it is. You know what I mean? It's just so many people who, like, when they're being accused of all this stuff, or they're being accused of this or that or that, they're pretty normal people. They're not like, they don't have any crazy,
Criminal
criminal
records. Yeah.
record. Exactly. So
I
you
was
could
just
do
going to
a,
say, yeah.
yeah, so you could do a background check to like be professional, but I don't think it's going to do as much as people think.
No,
Um,
most of these coaches that are being accused have no history of like
Yeah,
doing
no, they
anything
have,
wrong.
if anything, they have the complete opposite. They have a
Yeah.
phenomenal history. So it's like, it's kind of hard to be like, well, if we did background checks, it would fix that. It's like, I don't think that's really true.
No. It could
But at the end of the
help,
day, it could
but
help. Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to do your due diligence as a business owner. So I think doing background checks um would be help with that, at least. It's not
hmm.
going to change anything, but it'll help. And then just being smart with who you hire. You know what I mean? I'd rather hire the dad who has 3 kids, and he's just looking to teach some classes during the week, and he's been training
Hmm.
for 10 years. I'd rather hire that guy than a superstar, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that guy has kids. He knows how to he has a wife. He knows how to run a home. He's a
Hmm.
normal dude, but he's
Hmm.
good at jujitsu.
Yeah.
And so, and he's responsible. It's really hard to find instructors in jiu-jitsu who are responsible.
Yeah.
Um, not from experience yet, but from here listening to other
Yes.
business owners talk. That's like one of the hardest things, is like finding jiu-jitsu athletes who are also good employees. Like, that's
Yes.
almost impossible to come by, you know.
Right. And to your
So
point earlier, it's like those superstars are selfish because they have to be. So
they
it's
have
like,
to be.
how do you have somebody who's going to be showing up to work every day, but they're also at ADCC, but they're also at IBJJF, but they also have to
Exactly.
train three
It's
times a
it's
day?
not it's not fair to them as an athlete either, to try and
Yeah.
expect them to juggle those two things when they're obviously, their career is the most important thing in their life right now. Um,
Yeah.
so you hear a lot of businesses talk about it, as far as like the best employee is or the instructor, or the team member, is
Hmm.
the person who's bought into the business's vision the most. And
Yes.
so someone who has 1,000 things they're worrying about outside the gym, they're not going to be the best instructor, because the gym isn't really a big goal of theirs.
Right.
So I think these gyms need to hire people who are bought into the gym's vision,
Hmm.
who aren't just some random jiu-jitsu athlete who's competing and they're like, hey, can you teach a few classes?
Yeah.
At our gym, our instructors have PTO, and paid time off,
Oh, wow.
which
Very cool.
a lot of gyms don't. I haven't heard of a gym that does that, to be honest, but
Yeah.
that's just one step forward that I'm trying to turn jiu-jitsu into more of a professional industry. Is like,
Hmm.
if you treat these instructors like bums, then that's how they're going to act. You know what I
Yes.
mean? But if you treat them like a legit job, then
Hmm.
it'll give them more an incentive to I guess perform as an instructor.
Right.
So, while we have PTO at our gym,
That's great.
we hired Corbin Laporte. He was our first instructor that we hired.
Hmm.
He hasn't been teaching recently because he broke his foot, but
Hmm.
yeah, he had PTO the second he joined the gym. And so those are just some few things. I don't know all the answers. I'm not the
Yeah.
I'm not perfect by no means when it comes to open up a gym yet, but I think I have the right vision to turn into that one day.
Definitely. And I think the PTO sounds like a win-win. As an instructor, I know how much time I have. As an owner, you know how much time off they have. They're not just taking off 2 to 3 weekends out of the month and you're left with nobody to run your gym. So
Exactly.
sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, I know you guys are a no-gi gym. Are you still promoting with belts?
Yes, we are still doing belts. There's still a lot of things that I try and keep um, kind of part of jujitsu that are more like tradition. I
Yeah,
try not to completely just change the sport, reinvent the whole sport, because you know, part of
of
me thinks
course.
like, who am I to do that? But
Yeah. And some
but
things are
this,
good, some of
yeah,
the
some things
traditional
are
stuff's
good.
good.
I think belts and stripes and stuff are good, but I do think people put way too much weight on belts in the community. That needs to
Yes.
change somehow. I'm not sure how that can change, but it's definitely possible because it's not a thing in wrestling.
That was gonna be my, I guess, my hot take question for you is, do you think the belt system is outdated?
Yes, I think the belt system is outdated for a specific pool of jujitsu practitioners.
Yeah.
If you're someone who is ever competing, the belt should not be a big deal to you at all.
Right. I
But if
agree.
you're a hobbyist and you're doing jujitsu, no different than you would do like trade school or going to college, where it's like, hey, I just want to learn a skill that keeps me
Mhm.
in shape, makes me feel like a badass, makes me feel cool,
Yeah.
and I want some form of recognition every time I level up, like a video game.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone wants some sort of representation of their progress.
Mhm.
So I think for hobbyists, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to see the belt on your wall in your room and be able to tell your
Yeah.
kids, like, hey, that's when daddy, worked really hard for something, like
Motivating, yeah.
very motivating. So and that way, I think it's perfect. But for people who come in and they talk a lot, they're like, "Hey, I want to compete, blah 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 blah," but then they're worrying so much about their belt. I'm like, you don't really want to compete then, because competition is nothing about your belt level; it's about your skill
Mhm.
level.
It's
So
100% true.
it depends on what your goals are. And at our gym, we really try and tailor your training for what your goals are.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because as we all see, the purple belt high level competitor could beat the black belt hobbyist any day of the week. Like the belt
Any day of the week. Look
means
at Dorian.
nothing.
Dorian was a blue belt destroying people.
Yeah,
The guy I beat at a Yiga, he was a black belt under Wagner Rocha, world
hmm
champion. I was a purple belt at the time, and I beat him.
right.
So it was like it's the belts don't matter, and that's what's so toxic about the jiu-jitsu community, and it makes me want to throw up. Is the community just so bought it? The jiu-jitsu community, even more so than like the wrestling community. The wrestling community is like not even that bad at this at all, to be honest. But jiu-jitsu community loves tearing people down for some reason. They love tearing people down. I don't know why. Because yeah, you have a high level guy. If they lose to a purple belt, they're like, oh, that person sucks. You know
hmm
what I mean? It's like, you suck. I'll never buy your instructional again. Like, you blah blah blah. In wrestling, it was nothing like that. If you were a stud and you
hmm
got beat by like a freshman or up and coming guy, it wasn't that you were no longer a stud. It's just now that person's a stud as well. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, that's how it works. But in jiu-jitsu, it's the opposite. People want to tear you down if you lose to someone who is below you. Um, so I think it's a very disgusting way of thinking in the community. It needs to change.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great hot take, which I think is a perfect segue to move into. Did you prepare any for me, one or two?
Yeah, yeah, I got some.
All right,
I
let's
got
hear
some.
it.
Yeah, I guess my first hot take is the whole ecological approach
Okay.
to. I know we're beating a dead horse a little bit, but
I want to hear it though. Let's hear
yeah, who
it.
isn't these days in the jiu-jitsu community?
Uh-huh.
Um, so um, the whole ecological thing, the only problem I have with it, like I said, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I am the type of guy where like I'm open to everything, especially if it comes to bettering my skills and something that I care
Mm-hmm.
about. Then I'll always be open to learning something new. And
Yeah.
so when the whole ecological thing started to blow into the scene of jujitsu, I was not the guy that was like, I didn't do that growing up, so it doesn't work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was instantly like, oh, what is this? Let me look into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's getting way more attention than it deserves, to be honest. Um, I think people are trying to blow it up as if it's just this crazy new inventive,
Yeah.
brilliant way of training. It's just like, bro, like it's not that special.
Right.
But people are trying to blow it up towards like, no, this is the people who are doing this are the Leonardo da Vinci of jiu-jitsu. And it's like, no, they're not. It's not that big of a deal. And the reason why I say that is like, the whole ecological approach, there's a few things I agree with it. There's a few
Hmm.
things that I don't. But I don't like to hear a lot of these ecological guys. Almost all these ecological gyms, the main instructor did not grow up training in an eco gym.
Hmm.
They grew up in the traditional gym. Um, so it's like it's almost safe to say of like the knowledge you're trying to pass down into your gym training with a CLA approach, you're only able to create a CLA program because you have the knowledge that's been passed down from a previous generation. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
wouldn't know how to create a game if you didn't know what mount was. You wouldn't know how to create a game if someone didn't show you what a triangle was. You wouldn't know how to create any of these games if someone didn't make you drill
Hmm.
and teach you jujitsu. Um, so I find that a little confusing when
Yeah.
they say like, "Oh, this is the best way of training," and it's like, um, I wouldn't go as far to say the best way because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's as owning a gym now, it's very easy to see when someone comes in. There's adults who come in who don't know how to do a forward roll. There's
Hmm.
adults who come in who have a hard time knowing their left from right when in this environment. Not
Yeah.
saying that they don't know their left from right, but within this environment,
Yeah, with
it
pressure
it's
and
a
yeah.
lot to process. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So it's like it will take sometimes a new person multiple classes to learn how to do a double leg that's been shown to them dozens of times,
Hmm.
and they still will have trouble trying to figure out the move, just to move their body that way, right? If I told that person and tried to design a game for them to figure it out, if it took them a whole week to figure it out with me giving them the answer, how long is it going to take them to figure out it themselves? You know what I mean? It's like I've seen so many people. I do a mixture of both at my gym, by the way. I do drilling, I do live, I do resistance based drilling, and I do positional lives, and then I also do a CLA approach where I kind of give them a task.
Hmm.
I don't tell them a specific path to take. I just give them a goal and give them a task, and and try and filter them into doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
And with those new people, sometimes they are completely lost. I just let them do 5 minutes of developing horrible habits.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
is that good for them? I don't think so.
Yeah,
So,
no, I totally get what you're saying, and just to, I guess, reply to that, I feel like I felt very similar to you. I would say I was even leaning towards being like anti-eco until
mhm.
I had Greg Souders on the
I was
podcast.
going to say, please give
I
me information with like,
Yeah,
how did he make you feel better about it? I'd love to talk to him about it in
yeah.
person one day, by the way.
And I was gonna say, if you ever are bored, please listen to his episode with me, because I obviously, in preparation for him, listened to a lot of his interviews, and not trying to toot my own horn, but I really feel like his interview with me was like one of the only ones where it wasn't combative or
An
abrasive. I feel like,
argument? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I'm not, and that's no diss to him. I think people sometimes interview him and are already like ready for a fight, right? And I feel like
yeah,
I kind
yeah.
of just let him talk. And I feel like we had such an awesome conversation that I was actually able to understand better. And I'm not saying that that will change minds, but what's interesting is when you talk to him, I called the episode "Eco Bros Ruined Jujitsu," and that came from Greg Souders. Greg Souders himself said that these like hardcore eco bros have like ruined it for everyone because they're
Yep,
so tunnel vision and so black and
yep.
white, if you will, that they've ruined the entire concept. And when you listen to the episode, Greg Souders himself is like, people are under this impression that I don't like show the move. He's like, that's not correct. Like, I show what a
Mm,
triangle looks like.
okay.
But then I tell you, for example, like, this is what a triangle looks like. I want you to lock the ankle behind the knee line and get there. But like, I still
Hmm.
showed it. And he's like, I feel he was basically explaining that people have like made it so I don't know, like black and white to where it's like, nope, you can't even know what a triangle is, you know? And it's like,
Mm,
that's not what his anyway idea of
okay.
CLA is, right? And also something he mentioned is that we all do CLA without trying. Like if you're teaching a class and we go live, going live is CLA.
Mm.
So it's interesting. Not saying you're going to listen and be like pro CLA, but after having Kevon on and talking to Greg, I can understand how there's probably more good than bad to it. And I also think there's a certain group of people who have made it seem worse than it is. You
What
know?
I agree 1000%. I mean, I'm talking on a topic that I'm ignorant about, so it's like at the end of the day, I'm just giving my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And I don't think your
I,
opinion's wrong. Like I come from a traditional gym. I don't come
yeah,
from a
that
CLA gym, you know?
yeah. It's a, see, we say that though. It's like, hey, we don't come from a CLA gym, but then you have
But
Greg
we're still doing
Saunders,
it.
and then you have Greg Saunders say, well,
Yeah.
you have been doing it. You've been going live.
Yes.
And so that's the part that I kind of get a little confused about too. Where it's like, and I think maybe it's not Greg Saunders doing this, or the godfathers of CLA. You could say they're not doing this. It's the
Yeah.
eco bros who are
Yes.
blowing up this idea of like it's kind of weird to see a CLA gym say like, "Well, you've always been training CLA,"
Yeah.
but then in the same sentence try and act like they should give all this credit for reinventing the wheel. And it's
Yes.
like, well, you just told me you haven't reinvented the wheel.
Yeah.
That we've been doing this all along. So which one is it?
Yeah.
I
And I
mean, so
think, oh, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say I don't know what he would say, but I feel like from the conversation Greg and I had, his answer to that would be, it's not that they're reinventing the wheel; they're basically taking out where they feel you're wasting your time. So it's like
Okay.
so it's like
Actually, I
instead
think I've
of
heard him discuss that before.
yeah, because like and you know, as much as I agree with a lot he was saying, I agree with you in the sense that I love when my coach breaks down how to like get to a heel hook 25 times and then I can try it. Like I feel like I need that. And like I feel
Yeah.
like Kevon would probably be like, "No, you don't." And I'm like, "No, I
Yeah. Yeah.
do."
Yeah.
So there's definitely a difference in opinion here, right? But at the core of it, I think Greg is saying, you know, we're all doing CLA, but then he used Mikey Musumeci as an example. He was like, Mikey does CLA all the time. He's like constantly, you know, just like rolling and like learning new things. And he said something to the sense of like, if Mikey wants to drill, if that blows his hair back, you know, do it, but it's not helping him, right? So he's basically saying if you're at a traditional gym, you're doing CLA, but you're also drilling, which is wasting your time. So take out the wasting your time part and go live
Mm,
more often. That's, I
okay.
believe, I believe is what he was trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly would love to have a call with him and have him explain it to
Yeah.
me because obviously he knows more about CLA than I do as far as like the nitty gritty of it. But
First
that's
podcast guest for you.
there we go. Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
It really would.
um, but yeah, that's the part that confuses me. It's like when those CLA guys do say that drilling is a that's the thing that's kind of a little like a slap in the face is a little bit. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you'll have traditional guys be like, "Hey, I don't think CLA is a waste of time. I think there's a time and place for it." And then the
Mm-hmm.
CLA guys will go, "Well, I think drone is a complete waste of time.
Yes.
You shouldn't do it at all." And it's like one's kind of come at it more of like oh, like kind of
Compromise.
compromise, and then the other
Mm-hmm.
side's come out as like, "No, you're wrong. You're wasting your time."
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, okay, all right. If we want to go with that tone, then I mean, then let's go with that tone then, because it's like
Yeah.
I I own my own gym. I own my own classes, and some of these guys who come in here their first class, if I let them do 100% live, they would break their own leg within the first 5 rounds. Like I guarantee it. There's guys out there doing stuff during live that even if you gave them a task, are still just like they don't know what the heck they're doing. And I actually watched a video of Kevon talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I like King Von. I've trained with him personally. I've
Mm-hmm.
talked to him a lot. He's a really great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I heard a podcast or a video where he was talking about it as far as someone asked him like, what are the cons of CLA? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's a great question to ask
It
these
is.
people. And one of the cons he brought up is something that I've kind of brought up in this discussion here is like at the end of the day, there's people who he goes, for you to do CLA, you have to be pretty creative. And if you're not a creative person, this can be very hard for you to do these
Mm.
tasks and complete the task when you don't have a lot of creativity and you're rolling.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you're trying to get someone to do a task and they just can't do it, they're doing the wrong things. They're going left and they should be going right. They're doing it fully
Mm-hmm.
wrong. At the end of the day, what do you have to do? You have to grab that person and show them.
Yeah.
And when you do, according to you, you're now wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you're not wasting your time. You're helping the person. So
Yeah.
it's like at the end of the day, when CLA doesn't work, guess what you resort back to? What works.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you
Yeah.
can't get the guy to do the task, if you won't do it, at the end of the day, you have to show him, hey, next time try doing this. Go to a knee slice. Try bringing your knee in between the legs instead of outside the legs. Maybe it'll help you out. And by
Mm-hmm.
you giving them him that knowledge, you have used knowledge that's been passed down from previous generations to you.
Yeah.
Um, so
No, I
I,
I I agree with you. And one of my friends, Kevin, who's a black belt over at Webb, is very, very strongly pro CLA. And I remember I asked him, I was like, but what do you do with like a white belt who knows nothing? Like you have no baseline. They don't know how to move their body at all. Like, how do you say to them, like, okay, like I want you to keep the knee line? And they're just like, I don't even know what that means. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And so to your point, and listen, I'm like you, I'm open minded for somebody to prove me wrong. But to your point, I do feel like in order for CLA to be fully beneficial, you need some type of baseline, some type of background. You need to know something. You can't know nothing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if that's
yeah.
not true, I just can't understand it yet, I guess.
Exactly. That's the top. That's kind of the argument I make sometimes too. Is I think CLA is a. I mean, I did a class with Greg Saunders when he came to B Team.
Yeah.
I've experienced one of his CLA classes, and
Mm-hmm.
it was freaking awesome.
It
I
is.
loved it, and I loved it
Yep.
because I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I think CLA is a. I wouldn't argue against CLA at all for higher level competitors or even
Mm-hmm.
just level competitors. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great, awesome way to train.
Yes.
Um, and that's a problem I have is all these people who are advocating for CLA. Like I had a discussion with someone, they're like, "Well, look at DeAndre Corbet. He trained CLA." It's like, brother, that dude has 15 years of
Yeah.
drilling under his
Right. It's
belt.
not his first
Like,
day.
it's not his first day. This guy knows the sport better
Yeah.
than anybody. He was a state champion wrestler. Like, he's got
Yes.
so much he can do CLA because he knows what he's doing. You give him a task, he'll know exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of examples of that where people are like, well, look at that guy. And I'm like, well, he
They
didn't
were
grow
already
up.
good.
They were already good.
Yes.
Um, and and like, would you argue against me that they're not good? And people would be like,
Right.
well, no. It's like, but you're telling me their whole career they've been wasting their time. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're one of the best guys in the sport. So I wouldn't say
Right.
they've been wasting their time. Um, but this is all coming just from my opinion. You know,
Yeah,
I know
no, I mean, I totally
this
see
is
your
coming
point.
from a very humble stance. I would love to talk to
Yes.
Greg and actually have him explain it to me in a detail and layer that I can learn from.
Well, I hope if you do that, you record it so we can all listen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll shoot him a DM maybe today and see if he hops on the
Yeah,
call.
and honestly, I have been saying this to anybody who's willing to listen. I thought he was one of the nicest guys ever. I think if you approach him with
One
respect,
thousand percent.
he will
One
talk
thousand
to you with
percent.
respect. I think when people are like see this side of him that's very argumentative, it's because people interview him and basically they're like already attacking him before
Dude,
the interview
I mean,
starts.
half the interviews I've seen on YouTube, the interview starts and it's like, I think you're wrong, and I think
Yes.
you're wrong.
Yes.
Let's try and see who's really wrong. And
Yes.
that's a bad way to go into that discussion. Like, I want
Yes.
to go into discussion of like, I'm in the middle. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't. All I have is an opinion, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying my opinion is correct. I need more data and I need more knowledge to
Mm-hmm.
come to an even more logical opinion.
Yes.
And that's the way I want to look at it.
And that's exactly how the interview, and it was easy for me to do that because I genuinely was like, I have no idea. So enlighten me, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
any other hot takes?
Um, yeah. I guess one hot take would be, I don't know if I want to say it,
All
but
right, go for it. Come on, you have to now.
Um, I guess I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a nobody, so who really cares? But like, I think half the athletes in jiu-jitsu would not be the athletes they are if they weren't on steroids. So
Okay. You're
that's
not the
my
first one to bring
that's
up
what I'm
this
saying.
topic.
This is an old hot take, but it's definitely something I sort of agree with, not
Okay.
entirely. But
Are you familiar with Paul Ardilla?
Paul Ardilla, is he the lawyer?
He is. I love that
The
that's
very
everyone.
good looking rich guy?
He's
Yeah.
all right now. But yeah, he is the attorney, him and his brother Sergio. I had them on the podcast and I only bring him up because we talked a lot about that.
Oh,
They
really?
they feel very strongly about, being natural and about, going against it's not fair. Like it's just not fair to go against someone who's not natural, and it's not fair that they're basically teaching these younger generations to put this shit
See,
in their body.
that's the problem I have with it. I wouldn't go as far to say as like I'm not the guy that's against like I'm not against doing steroids in the sport as far as it being fair. Like
Mhm.
I wouldn't go as far to be like, hey, if if you're on steroids in a sport, it's unfair for everyone else. I
Mhm.
wouldn't go as far to say that because those people have the same amount of free will as they did to get on steroids, and they choose
Right.
not to.
Right.
So if it's allowed, it's allowed. If people aren't being tested, then you could get on steroids just as easy as everybody else is.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say it's like completely unfair because I could get on steroids at any time I wanted to.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't agree with people building a brand based around a lie. That's
Yeah.
the part that bothers me is that people who will try and sell instructionals and sell DVDs and build a brand based around of like this idea of like I'm just built different,
Mhm.
and it's just not the case.
Right.
And then obviously kind of preaching to the younger generation of like, hey, this is kind of what we do in the sport. This is what you need to do. And then you have
Mhm.
14, 15-year-olds taking steroids and have no
Yeah, it's
clue what the hell
terrible.
they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the part, that's the hot take that why I disagree with steroids in the sport.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really detrimental and kids exactly that. They're looking up to these athletes and then they feel like the only way they can be as good is if they start injecting themselves or whatever and they're probably not doing it in the best if there is a best way, that's not the way they're
Yeah,
doing
it's
it
not the
at
way they're
14
doing
or
it. Yeah,
15.
exactly.
So, yeah, I just think and this is like probably a bigger hot take that falls under this umbrella. I just think a lot of times people do and say things on social media and then they're like, well, it's not my fault. And it's like, no, you have a platform, so you do have a responsibility for what you say.
That goes
That's
back to what
that's
I
my
was
hot
saying as
take.
far as like these influencers have no clue what they're talking about, but when they open their mouth, everyone listens.
Yes.
And maybe it's not entirely their fault because maybe they don't understand how much influence they do have
Influence.
on
Yeah.
people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the part I have a problem with is you know, it's if you're 40 years old and you're on steroids, it's like, well, it's like you kind of have to be at that point. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you're reaching a point where you're a dried up raisin, so you have to do something. So those guys, like, I get it. I'm sure when I'm that age, I'm gonna be on something too. Like, so it's like, I'm not. I want to come out and say like I'm not against like if someone's on steroids, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? Um, there's definitely a time and place for it, and I just don't think it's a good message being sent out into to the community of jiu-jitsu of like, hey, if you're an up and coming 15-year-old, you're going to be a nobody unless you take this, and
Yeah.
then they start blasting all this stuff, and
Yes.
that's the scary part is nobody sees these people's life after the fame and glory.
Yes.
All the
Correct.
cameras cut off when your
Mm-hmm.
career's over. They don't see that heart problems you have in the future. They
Mm-hmm.
don't see all the medical bills that you're paying. You're almost dying in the hospital. No one sees that. They only see the people who are on steroids, their fame and glory. And
Yes.
then once that career is over, the camera shifts to a different person on steroids. So they
Mm-hmm.
never see the dark side of it. And I think that is very detrimental to people in the community.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's like if you're gonna promote it, then promote the full story, not
Promote
just
the full
the
story. Exactly.
yeah, the glorified version for sure.
Yeah. So that's it's frustrating because that's something
Yeah.
I kind of started to experience myself. I was able to get to a high enough level where I'm competing in tournaments where it's known that people are on stuff in these tournaments or at this level, people are on stuff. And when you grab that person in competition, and stuff like that, you feel at a
Yeah.
significant disadvantage.
Oh
You're just
yeah.
like, I could never beat this guy, no matter how
Yeah.
good I get at jiu-jitsu. Like, dude feels like the Terminator.
Right. That
So
was
it's
Paul's if I remember correctly, he was saying like, they just never get tired. It's like no matter how
dude,
good
that's the
good
biggest.
you are.
That's the
Yeah.
big. Like, I'm honestly really strong. Like, there's people who are on steroids that I feel like I could outlift.
Yeah.
Like, the strength obviously depends on what you're taking. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
blasting Trimbalone, you can lift an elephant.
Right, right.
But it's like there's some people in TRT that I can outlift, but the
Mm-hmm.
but the difference is their strength just never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
If I do a 25-minute round, those last 5 minutes, my strength is not even half of what it normally is. Where
Mm-hmm.
theirs is like it's at 100 the
Yeah.
whole round. So it's just like
Not
Jesus,
fair,
dude.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just not fair. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's the part that's a little frustrating as a competitor, is
Mhm.
like you kind of feel like, man, if I'm ever going to try and go get an ADCC medal, it comes down to if I want to be on steroids or not. That's what it comes down
Right.
to. And I'm not saying that that is the right way to think, but it filters your mind down that pathway of
Mhm.
thinking that way, and it's very bad for a competitor's mindset to always be thinking that way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, for sure.
to see people, that's the really frustrating part too, is like you have these people who they'll blast steroids, right?
Mhm.
They'll gain 40 pounds, they'll go beat all these heavyweights, whatever it may be, and then they'll tell all these people who they're influencing, yeah, I'm the best, don't go listen to anybody else, I know what
Mhm.
I'm doing, don't go listen to anyone else because I blasted a bunch of steroids and I won this tournament.
Right.
And people listen to him, and it's just
Mhm.
like, dude,
Yeah,
like, do you even know how that guy would be half the person he is now if he hopped off those three different steroids?
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like, I wouldn't say his jiu-jitsu is so good because he's just a genius at
Right.
jiu-jitsu, so much better than everyone else, but
Yeah.
that's the way people perceive it. They're like, this guy knows what he's talking about, like,
Yeah.
and they forget that, like, this person, there's so many people in jiu-jitsu, they started training jiu-jitsu at like 17, 18. And prior
Mhm.
to that, they were nothing. They were just
Mhm.
some below average athlete on a tennis team and
Yep.
couldn't even crack a JV lineup. And
Mhm.
then out of nowhere, they're the best in the world.
Right.
It's like, wow, like what'd you do? And they're like, well, I started listening to motivational speeches and taking creatine. And it's like, sure,
Okay.
okay. Like you couldn't even beat the best high schoolers.
Yeah.
And but within 3 years, you're beating the best grown men in the world. And you
Mhm.
want these people to believe it's because you unlocked a genius level of way of thinking in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it's very it sends a very bad illusion to the community. And I think it's and people the fact that people believe it is horrible. It's so horrible.
Yeah.
It's like I can learn more from, let's see, Gordon Ryan. He's the, one of the best to ever do it in our sport.
Mhm.
And some people would make the argument of, well, why would I listen to anybody else besides Gordon?
Mhm.
Like he has the best accolades, and it's like that's just the stupidest way of thinking I've ever heard in my life. Like I could
Yes.
learn more from JT Torres or Ethan Krillistan than I could Gordon because of my body size, my weight,
Mhm.
the way I train, my style. Their style fits my style better.
Mhm.
I could learn so much more from them than I could Gordon because Gordon's 230 pounds. I'm
Yeah.
170 pounds. His style and the way he does stuff is gonna be way different than the way I do it.
Right.
People don't think that way. They just see some strong guy with tattoos winning everything. They're like, oh, why would I listen to anybody
Yeah,
else?
that's the end all be all.
It's an
Yeah.
end all be all, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's a good way of viewing the sport, to see the
I
sport
agree.
progress.
And what you said earlier about like, just because they're on steroids doesn't necessarily like make it unfair because like you were saying, everybody has the opportunity, but it sucks,
Yeah,
right? Because it's like even though I could, if it's legal, it's like if I don't want to cause myself to have heart problems down the line, now I have to choose. Do I want to be an ADCC gold medalist or do I want to like live a long healthy life? Like that
it,
sucks. That's your only choice. Like it's
exactly.
stupid.
At the end of the day, I can't complain about it so much because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, life just isn't fair.
Yes,
So
you're right. Yeah.
I can sit here and try and play victim all I
Hmm.
want, or I just move on and do what I can do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've done, And so, is it unfortunate? Sure, it's unfortunate.
Hmm.
Like you said, to have a decision. It's like, well, if you want this, then you have to do this,
Yes.
and you don't want to do this, so you get nothing. Um, and so it is unfortunate, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's like those people who got on steroids, at the end of the day, they did want it more than you. They wanted it more
Hmm.
than you. They were
Yeah.
willing to make that sacrifice. So at the end of the day, they earned it and deserved it. They made the sacrifice that you weren't willing to make. So I get
Yeah.
that side too.
I see what you're saying. And I guess, you have to decide what's important to you. Like, is it
Exactly.
more satisfying to say that you, let's just say hypothetically, made it to ADCC and placed third naturally than placed first unnaturally? What is more
E-
satisfying to you, right?
Exactly. And it's what's more satisfying, a gold medal or you dying at 55 and leaving behind your whole family because you wanted to
Right.
take steroids. You know what I mean? It's like it's a very tough decision to make for a lot of people.
Yeah. I agree. Switching gears just because I really wanted to ask you this question. So, watching you, your game is pretty scramble heavy, I would say. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm curious. I imagine a lot of people are curious. When you're like in these chaotic scrambles, are you reacting instinctively? Are you seeing the submissions developing in real time? Like for people who maybe aren't natural scramblers, like how does that look like for you in real time? Can you kind of explain it?
Yeah, I give all credit to my drilling I've been doing my whole life. You know what I mean? It's like
Here we go. Full
I
circle.
almost fall back to my training, you know? But no, I mean, to be honest, yeah, I'm very scramble heavy. And when a scramble does start, there's a really good chance that I win the scramble.
Hmm.
And so, and I think that does come from just in wrestling. Wrestling is a great foundation for jiu-jitsu, and wrestling you do a lot of live.
Hmm.
But John Danaher, I did a seminar with John Danaher at B Team when he came and did that seminar recently, and I was there because, like I said, I want to learn from everybody. I don't care what the
Yeah.
drama is. I don't care what the background is. If you're good, you're good. I want to learn from you.
Hmm.
So I went there and I was like, hey, let me learn from this guy. He knows a lot. Um, and he explained something in a way that was really really good. As far as like he explained, this is to help answer your question. By the way, I'm not
Hmm.
going completely off topic, but he uh, he explained in a way of like when you see high level people roll, especially with a lower level guy, it looks like they can almost like predict the future, right? It's like they know
Mm.
what's going to happen,
Yes.
and it's like, whoa, how is this happening? And it's like it's more technique than you think. It's like if I snap you down to the mat, there's a good chance that your arms are only going in one direction. That's down to the mat.
Hmm.
So because of that, like I can already be grabbing where I think your arm's going to be based off me knowing that what I'm doing to you, I'm going to get this reaction,
Yes.
right? And I think a lot of scrambling is that just being so ingrained in my head of like when I do this, I know they're falling this way. So I can
Hmm.
already start to prepare my body and moves to already start filtering into the next scramble. Because like
Hmm.
if I push you backwards, it's a good stance. Your foot's going backwards and not forward.
Yes.
And so when you've done years of that and years of that, it does start to become part of this like your muscle memory. It just starts to become like I've been in this scramble so many times that I
Yeah.
already know how this person's going to react. And if they do react in a way where they don't. It's like, well, like this person always falls this way. Why'd they fall
Yeah.
this way? It's like, I've been doing this for 17 years. My 17 years. You don't think I've experienced that too? You don't think
Yeah.
I've experienced someone falling in a way that they normally don't fall?
Right.
Like,
I have an
um,
answer for that too.
I have an answer for that too, right? It's
Yeah.
like, so it really just comes down to people are like, how are you able to scramble? Why is your style like that? It's like, it's mat time. It's experience. It's just,
Hmm.
I've done it so long. It's like, there's not a scramble that I have not been in.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And it's like we always relate back to chess with jujitsu. And
Yes.
I actually just recently started learning chess, and I'm like, wow, this is accurate because you really are setting up a trap before you're even close to being there, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with jujitsu for sure.
Yeah, and most scrambles too at a high level, it's like a good grappler, a good wrestler will start a scramble, but with a slight advantage. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yep.
A good grappler will never start a scramble in a 50-50 position. It's
Hmm.
when I've acquired the angle. It's when I have your posture broken, boom, now the scramble starts.
Hmm.
So it's like it looks like a scramble, but most people don't realize that
The trap is set.
there's someone who is like a half a second ahead of the other person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like that's just high level grappling.
Yeah. No, that was a good explanation. I appreciate that because that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. All right, wrapping up. First of all, anything I didn't mention that you wanted to talk about?
Um, that my hair looks good. We didn't
Eh,
mention that.
Excellent, excellent
Thank you.
haircut. I love it. Very nice. Anything coming up for
um,
you?
no, I'm really focusing on, like I said, I'm really focusing on my gym right now.
Yeah,
I don't want to fumble this.
yeah.
My family, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So like, I want to really be able to help my family out one day and
Hmm.
do stuff for them. So I put a lot of weight on my shoulders with this. And So because of that, I'm really trying to put a lot of my attention toward my gym, and kind of how I would approach a high level competition is the same way I'm approaching the business of like, hey, I want to do better than everyone around me.
Right.
I want to do it professionally. I want to be I want to be the best in everything I do. So like
Right.
I want JJH to be one of the biggest gyms in Austin one
Mm-hmm.
day. And so because of that, I have to really put a lot of my focus and energy toward this because it really does take 24/7 of my time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's really what I'm focusing on. If I'm still training, I'm not training nowhere near as much as I should be for like a big competition, But
Right.
I'm in the gym every week. I'm keeping sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I'm progressing significantly, but
Yes.
I'm staying sharp. And when opportunities present itself, hopefully I'll be ready for them. Like I was asked to go against DeAndre Corbett on
Mm-hmm.
the Who's Number One a few weeks ago, and it was really last second. So I couldn't cut 15, 17 pounds
Yeah.
in one day. So I was like,
Yeah. It's
I
a
was
little
like,
hard.
ah, no, I'll wait for the next one. But
Yeah.
I hate to pass up opportunities like that. So I always try and like focus on my business, but still be somewhat prepared for if
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity knocks on the door that they want the dog back out on the mat, then I can go out there and I can put on a decent show.
That's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
so yeah, so to answer your question, my business is my main focus, but I'm always ready to scrap at any time. So
Good. Good. Good for you. Wish you lots of success in the business. I
yeah,
plan on
yeah.
making a little Austin, Texas trip in the near future. So if I do, I'll swing by and say hi.
Swing on by. Hopefully we're
Yeah,
still there.
absolutely. Yeah, I hope so too. But anything else? Any closing comments? All good?
Um, if I had a closing comment, man, I'd probably just tell everyone to stop taking everything so serious. That's
Yeah.
what I would tell everyone in the whole jiu-jitsu community is like, focus on your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Stop pointing out people's problems in their other life when your life's a disaster.
Yeah.
So it's like just focus on being better. Let's all try and be better humans, not just better grapplers.
Yeah.
And just try and help each other and stop taking everything so serious. That's the last message I'd send everybody.
I like it. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Sorry it took so long, but I'm glad it finally happened.